XintechPro sent me their new 48-volt DIY battery case to test, but I ran into some issues that could be dangerous, and they're issues that you might find in any DIY kit. It's a great illustration of what to watch out for on DIY builds and what to do if it happens to you. Welcome back to Projects with Everyday Dave. Let's build it. This case from XintechPro has a sturdy steel construction and it's sized for 280 amp hour to 320 amp hour cells or any other prism cell that has that same form factor. It comes with a 200 amp JK BMS and it's fully customizable, and that is one thing that I like about DIY batteries, being able to change all the settings. It also has all the communication ports that you'll need for communicating with your inverter, and it has a 200 amp breaker you can use as a disconnect. Today I'll be building it with the optional mobile base because these batteries are a pain to move around if you don't have the wheels. I highly recommend getting the mobile base if you're going to build one of these batteries. The powder coating had a little flaking on the bottom side. I just peeled that off, sealed and repainted that area so I don't have any corrosion issues. Everywhere else the coating seems fine. It must have been just some local oil or something on the part that kept the paint from sealing there. So maybe they need to do a little bit better prepping of the parts before they spray them. There's 4 holes on the bottom for the feet, which you can put in and then just set it on the floor. Or in my case, I'm going to use the rolling cart, which I really like for these heavier batteries. If you know you're going to put them in one spot and never move it, that's great. But for me, I'm always moving them around. So there's a very heavy duty cart that works great for that. I'm just going to go ahead and weigh this thing. Man, it is a beast. 60.4 pounds. Wow. Solid. Now these feet will just sit in the holes in the top of the cart, holds it nicely in place. So they kind of serve a dual purpose. There we go. Nice. Now I have a rolling cart and we're ready to assemble. This unit is completely disassembled. A lot of units come with the faceplate all pre-assembled. This one has nothing assembled. So we'll put all the pieces on the front, then put the batteries in and get everything wired up. I took my ring off and I'm wearing some electrically isolated gloves. I have these gloves and a lot of the other tools that I use on my tools tab on my website, projectswithdave.com, if you're looking for those kind of things. Just gives a little bit of extra safety in case I accidentally touch something that I don't intend to. Now, most of this is considered low voltage, but 50 volts will still shock you, so never hurts to have a little extra protection. Let's start with assembling the faceplate. I always use a little magnetic tray. It sticks to things and all the nuts and bolts stay in it nicely. It just helps keep everything organized. Okay, I like to use a little extra packing foam just to keep things from getting scratched up. Also makes a nice knee pad. I always stage my batteries before I put them in to make sure I have them all in the correct orientation, and I'll put that orientation up here on the screen. We want to make sure that we have a plus and a minus at the end where we're going to connect to the BMS, and then they alternate all the way back. We have insulators for the bottom and the sides. There's 2 sets of insulators for the batteries. There's a heavier duty set that go to the very first and last cell, and some thinner sheets for between the cells. And then some foam we can apply to the first and last panel just to give us a little bit of compression space. We'll just put 3 strips across. Now we can stack the cells in. For this build, we're using the XintechPro MB30 306 amp hour cells. You can get these direct in the US through Xintech, and you can get an additional discount using my code in the description below. So this is a pretty good deal. We'll put an insulator, then another battery, and we'll just stack that all the way up. 3 pieces on the back. Now apply additional foam to the closing pieces. All right, there's a little bit of space there, so I'm going to put one more layer of foam on. That's better. Stacks out better that way. Now I can put the compression plate in, and this plate is really heavy duty, which is nice. It has reinforcements across the middle. All right, the cells are in there nice and tight. Let's put the PCB on. Well, the boards come still joined together, so I guess I have to break them apart. Not a huge fan of that. I suppose it helps with shipping. These are going to attach to these plates that hold the cells in place. There's a piece of foam that will stick to the back side. The holes in the bar are to clear the blow-offs in the cells. Now for the boards. Board A goes on the left, board B goes on the right. Go ahead and secure those. I'm leaving these covered while we make these connections. These are the bus bars that we have to work with that come with this build. It's just a solid copper bus bar. It's not flexible in the middle. My preference is to have the bus bars that have the flexible middle so that when there's expansion and contraction, it doesn't put stress on the bolted joint. That being said, they are slotted. It'll be okay, just not my favorite. And you can always order flexible ones if you want to make an adjustment to your build. Pretty easy. We're going to come power in, then we need to join these cells end to end. So plus to minus, and so on. Then I have one left. I'll make that connection later. Now we have a temperature sensor and the BMS balancing leads we need to connect. So this one's labeled plus, makes it very obvious. You want to make sure that there's no insulation under the nuts. In this case, we're just going to add the temperature sensor to one of these cells. And we'll just go along and set these. They are all connect to a positive cell. So if you're putting one on a cell and it's not a positive terminal, you know you've done something wrong. And you don't want to connect it backwards. That would be bad. Now in this case, we have a minus at the end. And in this case, we have a minus at the end. All the rest are positive. Now we'll go ahead and put the nuts on. If you see the nut overlapping the insulation, like I do in this case, then you need to go back and remove it. If you get insulation under the nut, then it won't torque properly. You'll have torque loss and your connection will get hot. So you definitely don't want that. When you make these connections, you're going to want to use a torque wrench. In this case, I'm just using a torque screwdriver. I have it set to 6 Newton meters. If you don't set the torque properly, you'll have either too much or too little. If you have too much torque, you could break the studs. If you have too little, then you'll have a high resistance joint that could lead to heat and damage to the battery or incorrect measurement. When you torque them down, you might want to start the wire a little ahead of where you want to land because it'll usually twist a little bit when you tighten it down. Go in order. Make sure every one is torqued. Now that we have all those torqued, we'll go ahead and put in the final bus bar and torque it down. Now I can take a measurement of the voltage at the end. We should have somewhere around 52 volts. Let's see what it is. 52.65. That's good. Means we have everything connected properly. Now I can put the BMS in and the front plate, make our final connections. I have all the pieces to assemble the face. There's just one problem. We have 2 6-gauge wires to connect to this battery, and that is just not enough. I would like to see the equivalent of a 2-aught cable, and yeah, this isn't going to do it. If these were 4-gauge, I guess it would be okay, but 6 is definitely not enough. So the countermeasure will be, we'll change the BMS setting to be 100 amp instead of 200 amp, and the breaker really should be limited to 100 amps at that point. But what I'll actually do is go back and change out these cables to a higher gauge, I guess a lower gauge cable. But for assembly instructions, we'll just go ahead and put it together for now. I want this to be in the off position. On is this way, so it's going to go in like this. I'm going to go ahead and use 6 Newton meters for this. I don't have the spec on hand, but that should get us close at least. Wow, that should be enough. I actually can't even quite get 6. It's a really nice cable assembly. It's too bad it's insufficient gauge. Putting it upside down, I'm going to want the cables to turn this way, but when I flip it over, it's actually going to be this way. So I'll put the short one here and the long one here. We have to put this cover on from the front side, so we just screw these screws in from the back. Then we can drop the breaker in. And apply the holder bracket. Tiny little screws for the communications board. Terminals have a rubber gasket. They'll have the bar facing to the side. All right, now we have all those installed. So this is supposed to apply one of these conductors to each of these posts. The problem with that is if I connect my power out from the battery to this post, then 100% of the current has to flow through this tiny 6-gauge wire. There's no bus bar connecting these two posts, so this other conductor is completely out of the circuit. That's a problem. To correct that, these need to each be 4-gauge instead of 6-gauge, and I need a bus bar across these two. All right, I've talked to the supplier about this kit, and I let them know that this 6-gauge wire is insufficient. In order to get 170 amps out of this, we need 2 4-gauge cables and a bus bar connecting these two lugs together. You can't have these on separate wires because if you connect your load or source to one of these posts, then all of the energy goes through one cable and it has to circle back out through the other to the next battery. If you wanted to use the wires that came in the kit, you could combine both of these to one post. If you are going to use the kit the way it comes, I would connect both of these onto one post. Put the flat sides towards each other and connect it like that. So you just wouldn't use one of the posts. If you're connecting multiple batteries, you'd connect them both to the single post. This post would just be a dummy post. But that way, when you make the connection, you'll at least be splitting the load between these two cables. And then I would do the same over here. But the best thing to do is go ahead and replace these with 2 4-gauge cables. And in the future, these kits, they'll upgrade them to these cables and include the bus bars. But for now, you can get a good discount on the kit the way it is and then just get your own cables and modify it. Or if you don't need that level of performance, you could downgrade the breaker or add a fuse that allows you to use this lower gauge cable and maybe run it at 80 amps. For now, I'm going to go ahead and replace all of these with 4-gauge wire. To connect this in a more robust way, I've ordered a bus bar. I'll place that from post to post. And now with these 4-gauge cables, I'll be able to get the full usability out of this battery. Okay, I want to make sure there's no insulation within the joints. I've got a bus bar and the cable's connected. Negative connection is going to go to the BMS and may require some angle adjustment, but I want to get it roughed in here at least. Otherwise, it's going to be really hard to do. Okay, that is the front end. All this 200 amp JK BMS. It has 2 amp balancing capability, 200 amp continuous, and 350 amp surge capability. We're going to run it at less than that, so we shouldn't have any issues with it overheating. Some long screws that go in the corners, connect it to these posts. I'll loosely install all 6 and then come back and tighten them. The battery side will be the black cable that comes up to this negative post. And it will kind of need to hook down. I'm just going to put a little tape on that to make sure it doesn't touch something I don't want it to. It can hang out up here until we're ready to plug it in. All right, we have our data cable. That guy and this guy. Okay, power cable. There we go. All right, it's time to get this faceplate put on. Just go ahead and rest it up here. Go ahead and tape that positive cable up too, since it's going to be sitting up here. Okay, and one more here. Wait. All right, then I just need to connect the screen. There's a small connection here off the BMS that goes to the battery, and we just have a tiny little cable here. Connect that. This provides the positive power to the battery. Probably should have a fuse in it. So we'll run this up here to connect later. All right, and then put the negative connections onto the BMS. And then we have final communications cable to install. That one will go to the back of the display, power button, and this connects on the board to the one last slot. Okay. Connect the negative cable and the voltage sensing wire, and then don't forget the power to the BMS. I had to add this lead on here because it just came with a bare end. I did not want to connect it into the breaker. Okay, I probably should have connected these balance leads to the board while I had the face off. Note to self, so it's going to be really tough to do now. Now, I prefer when these have a nice abrasive insulating cover on them so that you don't have to worry about them rubbing on an edge. I wrap these in electrical tape so I don't have to worry about sharp edges wearing through any of the wires. Now I can make the final balance lead connections. Looks like I need more electrical tape. There we go. Now before I close this thing all up, I'll go ahead and make sure it turns on and gives us power. I hear a beep. Look at that. Powering up. Beautiful. Now I should have 0 voltage to start with. Yep. Then I can turn my breaker on. Ooh, maybe. Now we should have power. Look at that, 52 volts. Okay, so I can go ahead and close it up. I can also turn it off from the BMS. Boom. Breaker off. Okay, we have everything wired and it all checks out. We can put the insulator over. That way if the lid ever got damaged, it wouldn't directly contact any of the wiring. And then we can drop the lid on. All right, the battery is done being assembled. Now we just need to set up the BMS. There we go. To program and control the BMS, download the JKBMS app from the App Store and connect it by Bluetooth. The Bluetooth connection code is 1234. Once you're in, you will need to update the settings to match your configuration. So click on the Advanced Settings and enter the standard JKBMS, which is 123456. I have put the settings that I'm using for today's build on the screen, and you can pause here and take a screen grab if you need to. I will only touch on 2 of the settings that need to vary depending on your build spec. The rest will pretty much be the same for any lithium iron phosphate battery build. The first one is battery capacity. I'm using 306 amp hour cells in this build. If you're using 280 amp hour cells, put in 280. If you're using 314 amp hour cells, put in 314, etc. Second is the continuous charge and discharge current. I am limiting the 200 amp BMS to 130 amps here. With the addition of the bus bar and 4-gauge wire conductors, I could make it as much as 140 and still have good margin. If you keep the 6-gauge conductors that come with the unit and no bus bar, I would set it to a max of 65 amps. Here is an important lesson. It's a good idea to remove the cover from your battery, charge and discharge your battery at the max current setting for at least an hour, and check it with a thermal camera. That way you can see any hot spots as a result of loose connections or undersized wiring. Heat is dangerous and it's not that hard to check. You can find some budget options for thermal cameras on the Tools tab on my website, projectswithdave.com. The capacity of your battery will depend on which cells you install. With the JKBMS, you can expect to get about 15.4 kilowatt hours with the 306 amp hour cells in this build and 16.6 kilowatt hours with 314 amp hour EVE cells. And I particularly like the EVE 314 amp hour cells. And actually, XintechPro has 314 amp hour MB31 EVE cells reasonably priced for US stock. Plus, you can get an additional 5% discount using my link in the description below. You can get just the case and rolling base with a 200 amp BMS for just over $700 using the link below. But I would upgrade the battery and BMS connection cables to at least 4-gauge as we discussed today. You can also get a pre-built battery with 320 amp hour Cornex cells for just $1750. I've not tested those cells, so you'll have to do your own research on their performance. Finally, you can get a pre-built version with the 314 amp hour EVE cells for $1900. With all of these, I would check the cables. The current stock has 6-gauge cables, and I know they plan to upgrade it to 4-gauge in the future, but that stock is probably not available yet. I would replace those cables with 4-gauge and install a bus bar between the studs. That way you can use at least 340 amps of the BMS. And of course, you can put larger cables if you want to go all the way up to 200 amps, but it's better not to push the BMS that hard anyway. You should also go into the BMS settings and change them to match what we had on the screen today. If you want to see a massive 32 kilowatt hour battery test, watch this video right here. And if you want to see a comparison of DIY and UL listed batteries, watch this video right here. Please be safe. Building your own battery comes with inherent additional risk and should only be attempted by an experienced electrician. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.